Hi, my name is Benedict. This is a follow-up video. I don't really want to say the word review because this is far from exhaustive. It's not fully scientific. But I took some time looking at the exonic AI Master. There it is, my mouse is disappearing under it. It's a VST that does a surprisingly good job, or at least I found this so last time, a surprisingly good job of finalizing your material. You shouldn't really call it a master because a true master is about preparing the material to go onto the delivery platform. And for a lot of us, that is going to be Bandcamp, YouTube, or Spotify if you want to go down that path, but I don't advise it as an indie. I really don't. But that's a whole other argument. But I was impressed. In my experience, a couple of times where I've tried bot masters, those, we'll assist your track and make it excellent, they've brutalized it. One of them was so bad that I won't even talk about it. It was horrifying what it did. The other was just heavy-handed, and there is a video which I linked to last time. What impressed me about this was that it was absolutely not heavy-handed and gave a very workable result. I felt like I had beaten it, 1me0 robot, but it was also a test of one track. So I thought, look, let's go around and do it again. I did consider using other material, but I feel bad about using clients' material in this sort of thing. My job as a mix engineer is to honor their work, not to be playing with it, using it in tests and stuff like that. So that means I'm working with my own material unless somebody actively puts their hand up and says, yeah, I want you to do that, and see what happens. So the track is one of mine. Again, it's on the sensitive side because that's the nature of what I do most of the time. Let's have a quick listen to the overall material. So of course, as is typical from me, it's melodic. There's not a lot of instrumentation in the mix at once, so we could call that minimal. Where we started in this situation was my own master. Now, if I recall correctly, the manual for the AI mastering device encourages us to give it about a -6 dB. Not unusual for my mixes to turn out, well, for this sort of material at least, to turn out about -12 dB. So it sounded like this. I also wanted to see, was that likely to affect negatively the potential outcome? And I can say straight up, it did not. So feeding it a low level up to a reasonable point doesn't seem to cause any problems, which is very nice. So there's a certain amount of flexibility. Obviously, there, like last time they warned, do not feed me anything that's clipping because it'll make the bot unhappy, and we never want bots to be unhappy. So just to bring the level of this back, actually, sorry, I don't think I played it for you. So this is the level that the material was at. So this is my original mix. That's noted as 1. My master is noted as 2. And the Exonic's AI mastered track is number 3. So number 1, no master. It's quiet. Big difference. Let's give us another 8 dB just to be fair. Now you hear a lot more air. You can actually hear the air or even the hiss coming through in the reverb. Hiss is not what it is, but you can hear a lot of that up there. So that's nice. If we then flip across, we notice we're not hearing as much air. We're not hearing that hiss up there. But as I kept A-Bing, and I'd actually confused myself as to which I had to start with, I realized you notice this? Mine is brighter in the highs, in the high highs, in the air. The AI Master is not as bright up there. It's a lot more warm, relaxed, neutral. But at the same time, there's more clarity. So rather than just turning up the treble, there's detail in the middle, and that's pulling through, and dare I say it, it's now 1-1. First time, I think I beat the AI Master. This time, I think the AI Master has beaten me. I can acknowledge how and why that has happened, but that is a great thing in terms of a product that one might say I'm going to go get. Which brings me to the point. Last time I tried this, I was just trying the demo. Guy was impressed with what I did. Guy's the guy behind Exonic, and actually sent me a personal message, and we had a fair old chat there. And he said, "Look, let me give you a license." I did say that I wanted to do a whole piece to compare the spectrums, because last time I just took a section, but honestly my piece is so long by the time I sat through it, it just didn't really seem worth sitting 6.5 minutes over and over. I didn't think I was going to gain anything, so sorry on that point, but I'm really impressed that with this process it's come up with a really good result, and in some ways it beat me here, but it beat me because I was lazy. Let me show you. Turn that on. Now, if we look at my master versus the AI Master, they overall look surprisingly similar, and that's good, because if we come to a master and they look radically different, then it's probably been very heavy-handed, because the role of a mastering engineer, as I said last time, is to prepare it, to put it in the box and make it good, but not to rearrange the material that is there. That's not mastering. That's God knows what that is, but it's not good mastering practice. So we've got surprisingly similar curves, but if we work our way through from the bass up to the treble. So, keeping my mouse down here, sorry, having to manage. Low bass in the subs, kind of similar. They've got a little bit of a lump just in the, well, right down in the garbage. I don't think that's going to have any noticeable difference, and it's definitely not on these or standard speakers. Maybe if you've got a set of electrostatic quads or the world's largest sub, you might notice that. Tell me how that goes. The bass itself continues fairly the same, but just like last time, there's a little bit of boosting happening here. So if we look at the line there at 100, you'll see the AI Master from 100 up to sort of the 150 is different from mine. So there's a boost probably happening down here. My guess is going to be maybe at the 80, not sure, but it's not as noticeable. This material isn't as noticeable on the bass as my last one was. But it does sound nice and robust in there without having changed or overemphasized the bass that I chose to use. It would be very easy for the software to go, ooh, let's add 34 dB of bass so that it sounds homey, but then it would have wrecked my track. And that's what I've heard other AI mastering things do. It's like, ugh, nasty. So again, it's handled that nicely. There is possibly a little bit of a cut here because you see that there's a dip around the 200 and it's a bit wider under here. So there may have been a dip a little bit of an add somewhere around here, I'd say 80, 90, and there possibly is a little bit of a dip in here. Moving up, we can see that somewhere around here, so that's in the maybe 300 or so, there has been a little bit of a shave off, because you can see that mine's got a little bit of a flat top. There's sort of droops down a little bit. That sounds sad, but that's probably what you would call a clarity cut. And there's definitely sound clear. What I think has been done here is, as I said, a little boost, maybe somewhere around the 80, 90, and a little bit of a cut in the 300, 400. That's a classic move. That gives us a little bit of welly, but it demuds it at the same time. So it comes across as a nice clear bass rather than just a lump of mud. So good textbook move, if that's what's been made, because it appears to be. Similar here, there's possibly a little bit of cut just above the 500, so the sort of 600 or something like that. There might be a slight difference there. Harder to say. As we come to the 1K, I think that there's been a little bit of activity, because you can see that there is a difference between the 1 and 2K in the shapes of things. So 1.1 or something like that, there's been a little cut out. In some ways, cutting that out reduces some of the immediacy or stridency of that, I don't know, oboe, clarinet, whatever. It's a synth, a pure synth. And that's good and bad. It's bad in the sense that that's my lead instrument. I want it to be very forward. Plus, I did design it to have a slightly forward nasal tone. It has changed the tone of that, but it has not changed it in any kind of unpleasant way. It has made it feel relaxed. So, while it was not my choice, unless you're A-Bing it, you really don't notice a difference. Maybe for some people they will feel like that is more smooth, more relaxing. And if that's the case, then that does suit what I'm trying to achieve. So no argument from me on that, merely trying to comprehend what the machine did. We definitely have some kind of cutting, again, around the 2K. You can see the difference with the two things there. Again, that's a frequency area that can be a little on the hard side. I'm not afraid to use those frequencies. I like them. I like the lot of clarity that comes through them. But, as I said, they can seem hard. So fair call, fair play. Interestingly, as we move forward, as we get into the sort of, excuse me, as I look at the screen a little bit closer, probably around the 2.5, 3K is where we get a difference. I thought there was going to be a boost there because there's more clarity. But I think now, looking at this, that clarity is achieved more through unmasking than by boosting. Now, in many ways, unmasking is a nicer way of achieving the result than boosting. Yes, you can boost something to say, yeah, we'll want more of that. And I'm a big fan of doing that when I'm mixing. But you can also, especially in these sorts of situations, more subtly unmask. So in this case, they're cuts where they've done them, and I think they've done far more cutting than boosting here. Those cuts will help unmask, as in, if we've got 12 people talking in the room, if we can shoot 6 of them, it's easier to comprehend what the person we're talking to is saying, because there's less in the background. So by cutting a little bit, I think they've unmasked what comes across as a nice warm clarity, which I think's great. Get this warm, natural, relaxed feel, which really is rather nice. Moving forward, up at the 5K, they seem fairly neck and neck. They may be slightly lower. There is a little bit of a droop around the 7 or 8K. It's there on mine, but it's possibly slightly more noticeable on theirs. You see that I've still got a little bit of a lump before I fall in the hole. There isn't that kind of lump. It just dips down into that little bit of a hole. Interestingly enough, if we were to even be fussy, we would say that up the very top, around our 20K, they're possibly even running a little bit more air up there than I am. I mean, shocking, really. I'm the master of air. That could be how they've still got this nice sense of warmth, even though it's not warm up there. They've got this nice sense of intimacy and relaxed by cutting away things that weren't benefiting, and then just giving that up there, whereas I've tended to roll it in earlier. They've rolled it in more towards the top, is my guess. So very, very nice result. And as I've said, I reckon they beat me this time. Curse you, robot. We'll switch you off. And that's nice, because it's given me another perspective to my own track. And it's also reminded me that I really should not forget, because often I do these masters at the end of a long session, often even at the end of the day. Partners called me, dinner's going on the table, get in here. And so I'm sort of rushing out so I can put it on my USB and take it out and listen in the lounge on the sub after watching TV. And I think I can forget to actually manage my mids. So it's, if nothing else, reminded me of that. But it's kind of a nice thing to be able to say, look, I could run this. If I'm at all kind of like, yeah, or even just want to do it as a habit, to say, let's see what the bot would think was a good idea. It's not that I don't trust what I do. I always trust what I do as much as I can. Because if you go down that path of not trusting yourself, then you'll find it very hard to develop. So in no way am I going to say, get this so that you can test that you're... I think that's a very dangerous point of view. I listen to my own mixes to test whether I feel good about them. Do they achieve what I was looking for? That's how you back yourself. But at the same time, to have that sense of, well, a little like if I sent this out to somebody else, hop on the phone, hey, Mr. Bob Ludwig. He doesn't take my calls anymore, oddly enough. What do you think of this? That it would just be a case of send it back, and I'd go, okay, that's what you're thinking about what you're hearing in my thing. Only I don't need to phone Bob. I've got the exonic AI Master, which can actually do that if I'm either wanting to hear something different, or just like the idea of saying, okay, well, what would something or somebody else do with this? And it's a nice, robust, honest kind of a mastering system. There's no splash, there's no ridiculousness to it. There's no twisting my music out of shape. Yes, in this case, it's changed the tone perhaps a little bit more markedly than it did last time, but it's done it in a very nice way. So I'm not about what's right and what's wrong, because everybody's going to have a different opinion about what they like. And it's my music, and I'm going to choose, or my mix if I'm doing it for somebody else, so I'm going to choose what I think is right. Will I be using this in client masters? No. Not at all. And I really do hope that we don't see that kind of stuff happening on Fiverr and the like, where people will just and charge people for it, because It's not the intention. That's not what this kind of stuff's about. Well, I guess if you're paying somebody $5 for anything, then you can expect them to turn the wheel and it's nasty. But as a product, I think that it's achieving what it sets out to achieve really, really well. But my opinion is still, if you can mix well enough to do a good mix, then you can finalize your mix. But at the same time, if you did want to say, well, if I were to send it to somebody else who's going to do this job honorably, then I think the dancing head here does a pretty damn decent job. And I really was, I'm going to say, impressed that it actually came out not only better than I expected, but better than I did myself in the situation. So where I am not a fan of AI things at all in music, because AI and art don't go together until the robots can actually think and feel for themselves, until they want to hold my hand or rock and roll all night and party every day, they've got nothing to say. And so without anything to say, you can't make art. You just can't. You can string things together and pretend, but that's no different than from throwing rocks in the sea. What you're doing is you're making a splash, but you're not making anything, because what you've done is transient. So great product, really is. I did talk to Guy about the future of the product. There does appear to be a future for the product, and interestingly enough, it seemed to be along the lines of things that I suggested. No, don't ask me what I suggested, because that's for Guy to unveil if and when. But right now, if you've got the coins and it's not a big deal, and you're thinking, oh, gee, can I trust this? I'm going to say, yeah, I think you can trust this product. If you have any questions, other than what the future of this product is, because it's not for me to answer. If you have any questions, ask down below. If you want to hire me to mix or something, or give you advice on your program, your process, your music, whatever you're doing, then down below. You have a good day now.